Well, hello, FMU Chamber people. I'm happy to be here today. And today is kind of an exciting day. It's the first interview that we have for our voter education series that we're doing. And we've got with us today Bill Bryant, who is running for
Dave Bryant.
Dave Bryant. I did that at the luncheon too. Why?
The other Bryant.
I must know a Bill Bryant. I don't know.
Well, he's the one that ran for governor, if you remember.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why it sounds familiar. I don't know. I mean, I don't know him real well, but anyway, Dave Bryant, who's running for the Port Commissioner at the Port of Tacoma, and thank you for being here with us, Dave. And to start out, would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself? Who you are, what your background is, and why you're running for Port Commissioner.
Well, thank you very much, Laura. I am running for Port of Tacoma Commissioner, position number 5. It's an open seat. There are 3 people that are running for it. I think I am the one that brings the most qualifications to this position that can add to the port what the port needs for the future. I come from a first career in the Navy. I was initially a fighter pilot, jet test pilot, the things they let you do for fun in the military when you're in your 20s, and then was selected to move into the aircraft carrier side of things. 11 people at a time get the privilege of commanding nuclear aircraft carriers. So I went into that pipeline. In that, I was executive officer of the USS Enterprise and then commanding officer of a logistics ship called the USS Supply, and then commanding officer of the USS Theodore Roosevelt. In those ship commands, I transited all over the world, went into foreign ports, just about everywhere, a lot of times supporting combat operations. As commanding officer of the logistics ship, the USS Supply, I was the Central Command logistics coordinator for all of the ships in that area, primarily in the Persian Gulf, that were operating in Desert Storm type operations. And so coordinated all that work with the different ports in those areas, Oman, Jebel Ali, Bahrain, multiple ports in that area. So I understand what is needed to make a port good, what happens when a port isn't run well, when it doesn't provide service to the customer. And I think I would bring that orientation of understanding what the people out at sea, what the commanders of those ships, the captains of those ships that are pulling into the port, what they want to see when they pull into a strange port where they've never been before, where very good chance they don't really speak the language. So again, that's the type of thing that will make the Port of Tacoma a welcome port for people to pull into. In addition, after my time in the Navy, I came to work for Boeing in Kent, Washington. I've been working there for a little over 15 years. And in that job, I've been working and pulling together large-scale businesses, a lot of the internet-type interaction, data analysis that allows businesses to optimize how they operate with other businesses. That innovation, that change is what is needed and what can very well add, especially coming from our area in the Puget Sound. We have so much of that with Amazon and Microsoft and the rest that we can leverage to make our port a welcome port, a port that serves the customer better than any place else in the world. And that's what I can bring to this job, and that's why I want to run, and that's why I want to be your port commissioner.
Thank you very much. So what are the strengths of the Port of Tacoma that you can improve on?
So the Port of Tacoma, one, as I just mentioned, we are right here where all this innovation is going on. We can partner with those companies to bring in some of the new applications that can reach worldwide with the right kind of communication system and growing communication system that can reach out in the middle of the oceans to allow all the ships as they're coming to optimize their distribution systems, their interaction with the port, the services that they need, and that can make both their business and our support for those businesses much better than it is today.
Okay, great. Now, first of all, I want to thank our Government Affairs Committee who has they've supplied the questions for us today, and so the questions you're hearing today are coming from them. And I don't see anyone on here live yet. People must be driving home from work. It's kind of that drive home time. So if we happen to get anyone on, we'll do a little shout out to you. But anyway, moving on here. So what are some of the areas of improvement that you'd like to see at our port?
Well, one of the big areas of improvement is to optimize the loading and unloading, the interaction with the surface transportation. Obviously, we have had for quite a while a problem getting I-167 for one connected into the port so that trucks can get their material offloaded and immediately out onto the highways, moving to where the distribution is. Same thing for coming in to pick things up. I've heard truckers complaining about sitting 5 hours waiting in line just to get into the port to start interacting with the ship. That 5 hours is a lot of wasted time that costs those shippers money and makes our port provides a negative that those people will recognize and remember. That's one of the things that we need to work with statewide, and I will work with the state legislature and make sure that that we do the best that we can to get the infrastructure centered. This Tacoma port really is the lifeblood of this area. It supports bringing things in, and obviously the jobs that have to do with all of that offloading and interacting and servicing the ships. In addition, it is the port where Eastern Washington brings their produce and gets them shipped primarily to the Asian area. But that is a very, very important method that they have for getting those products to market. So we need to work very, very hard to make that as efficient as possible. And again, if it is efficient, if it's smooth, if it is painless to the customers, both people that are shipping and the shippers that are moving it, we make that as seamless as possible, the best service possible, then those customers will be coming to us and telling other people to come to us.
Okay, thank you. So our next question is about the sub-area plan, the Tacoma Tide Flat sub-area plan. This is something that has been kind of in the process, in the works for, I don't know, about a year that I know of. I mean, it could have been way longer before than that, but I know they've been working on it for at least a year now. What would your priority outcomes be from the sub-area plan? And for our viewers here, you can kind of describe what exactly that sub-area plan is.
Well, the sub-area plan in general is the interaction with the Tide Flats area that has been provided to the port as infrastructure for them to run, to manage, and to make money off of. That needs to be integrated with the rest of the state of Washington, the transportation plan, other distribution plans, product plans, etc., across the state. The sub-area plan, again, is for the Tide Flats, and that is tasked with the Port of Tacoma to best use that to support both the businesses that are happening in this area as well as the people of the state of Washington that area belongs to. One of the things that can be done is to lease part of that Tide Flats area. Again, that's what ports do, is lease those lands to other users, and those then can bring in revenue for the state. One of the things that should be happening to make ourselves more competitive is to not just lease out the land to any taker, but to do it to businesses that will better support the ships, the shippers, the product transfer in this area. So we get a double bang, both the revenue of leasing the land and the facilities to people that want to run business in the area, as well as provide close proximity to the support facilities, support businesses that the shippers and the shipping company owners need in this area.
All right. Next question is, what is your top agenda objective should you be elected?
So after election, the most important thing that we all will be planning for is to build the next long-range plan for the port. And that strategic plan is very, very important for everyone to basically hang their hats on. We want to predict where we're going, put a plan together, and take advantage of all the changes that are happening, the drives for better environmental impact from our port, how we are going to get to a cleaner and cleaner, as we all want, cleaner and cleaner environment. So we need to set out how we are going to reach towards those things and take real measurable steps and real executable steps that are in alignment with the shipping companies, most of whom are not resident here. They're in other countries in Asia, South America, Central America, and we need to coordinate with them. We need to coordinate with the ports that they come from in order to make sure that we are aligned and best support those shipping companies. Same thing for the fruit and vegetable producers in eastern Washington as they're coming in, coordinating to make sure that we can best support their business and their shipment of goods across to their customers.
Very good. So we heard your background with the Navy, and you've got a very impressive background. Is there other areas of public service that you have had or participated in?
Well, one, the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that was quite a bit of time where I was serving in the Navy. Of course, as I tell everyone, I thank people for letting me serve. There's nothing that is more of a privilege than serving our country and running the fighter airplanes that I flew, the ships like the nuclear aircraft carrier that I commanded. Those are very, very critical assets that the U.S. taxpayer put a lot of time and effort and money into, and that's a very, very much a privilege that is provided to us that serve in the military. Locally here, I am on the Pierce County Surface Water Advisory Board, and that's in a sense aligned with the port. Obviously, as we have all the surface water go places, eventually it ends up in the port. And so we want to make sure that all that is done right. I'm also a trustee for the Theodore Roosevelt Association. It's a nonprofit that is based on the 26th President of the United States, furthering the initiatives that he did, both for environmental improvement and how we interact and how businesses interact with people. He set realistically the agenda for the next 100 years that we are still working with. Other areas that I've worked in, I'm in the Military Officers Association of America, the Navy League, and some other local organizations.
Thank you. I see we have Dawn Zazimozovich from Rain Dental on, so it's good to see you, Dawn. And I want to just say thank you for your service. That it's always I always try to take the opportunities, every opportunity I can, to thank our servicemen.
Well, thank you.
So thank you so much for that. Our next question, how do you see the Port of Tacoma interfacing with the South Sound community in general? And could that interface be improved?
Interface with the community can always be improved. and there are some sore points. A big part of our community is our interaction with the tribes in the area here. The Puyallup tribe has a lot of historical ownership of this area, and the Tide Flats is a very critical area to them. We need to make them part of everything that we do planning. They need to be in every decision, and we make sure they are part of solutions, not working against what we are doing. So we're not separate organizations. We have one unified goal. Other parts of the community, all of us in property taxes contribute to the port. All of us take advantage of the jobs that spring from the port interaction. There are on the order of 29,000 direct jobs in the port supporting things, but those just are the beginning. There's a big multiplying factor of all those other jobs that affect the community. We need to make sure that we have good information about that provided to everyone in Pierce County, that they know that their tax money is going to a very important purpose. And we need to make sure that those tax dollars are very well taken care of by all of us, and that they know when we spend money to upgrade ports or bring in another facility or dredge or improve things, that there is a reason for doing it, and the reason is to make both the port and the community better.
All right, thank you. Okay, so how can we be leveraging the work on economic development outside of the port to attract and retain businesses and family wage jobs in the South Sound region?
Well, you mentioned family wage jobs, and I think that's the most important thing that the port does. The port brings a core of skilled jobs in a very, very important area, sort of the center for what we're doing. And the jobs in that area, whether that's the longshoremen or the Teamsters, various organizations that are in the area, those are important skills that are critical. We have people that are in there operating that we expect complete safety. We don't expect people to be swinging those big containers that are sitting on semis and blasting them into buildings or dropping them in the water or smashing into ships. So that takes a lot of dedication. It takes a safety culture, and it takes a training culture that mentors people, brings them up to speed into how they operate. And that's a very, very important part of what the port is, that provides those career jobs, those long-term jobs that people can grow in and support a family on.
Very good. Yes, jobs are one of our top priorities here at the Chamber as well. How do you see public transportation and freight mobility partnering to reduce congestion, increase transit ridership, and get goods to the market faster?
So great question, and obviously those of us that don't drive trucks but drive on the highways, I'm sure get frustrated by having the lines of trucks that maybe slow traffic down, and we'd like to go, oh yeah, let's just get rid of all those trucks. Those trucks obviously have a huge import in making all this work and doing real business and supporting all of this that happens, the spin-off jobs, etc. I live near Sumner, Washington. I see those hundreds of semis that are out there. Seems like we have half of the country's semis parked in Sumner, Washington. But again, that's something that we need to work on very hard, is how we deconflict that truck traffic that sort of has a different purpose than most of the rest of us that are driving on the freeway. So we need to seek out, as we're working these integrated plans for transportation, seek out the best way to get those trucks quickly and efficiently into doing their job, and at the same time out of other people's way and reducing the overall congestion. I think that's something that's very important to all of us.
All right. So we're getting close to the end of the questions. This question I thought was an interesting one that one of our Government Affairs Committee had submitted. And what question, if you could ask a question to one of your opponents, what question would that be?
The number one question would be how you would make our port of Tacoma, competitive and better than just competitive with the other ports up and down the West Coast and ports that are now provided access through the Panama Canal. So I think that is the most important thing. Whoever provides the best services to those other shippers that are out there are going to get the business. We need to get the business. We need to get the jobs. We need to get those family wage jobs that come with that increased business. I think we are on the cusp of increased shipping as world trade increases, as we do more with China, as China grows and starts pushing more products to us, and not just China, all of Asia that we are one of the closest connections to. But we need to make sure that we are competitive and more than competitive with those other ports.
Very good. And so, and the last question was, how would you answer the same question? But I think you kind of did that.
Well, again, I'd like to expand on that,
Okay.
though, because I think, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't know how clear I was on that, but at the beginning when I was talking about using the new applications that are internet-based to enable the shippers, the shipping company owners, the captains of the ship to optimize their business, optimize their interaction to the port, to make it easier for them, just like any online app that you see for ordering parts from Amazon. We can do that. If you can imagine a ship out in the middle of the Pacific and you find for whatever reason that there's going to be a delay of 12 hours, much more efficient for that ship, captain of the ship, to know 2 days ahead of time, slow down a tenth of a knot, and make it right on time, rather than come in and go to the expense of anchoring, extra tugs, extra work on their part, and the wasted time and effort. They could save a little bit of fuel coming in and minimize their expense. One example of that, from fruit and vegetable shippers from eastern Washington, for them to know the right time to come in, when ships are going to be available for them, when they can optimize things coming in. Same things for trucks coming into the area. If you can imagine 1,000 trucks that are all trying to come in, if they all show up at the same time, we have a backup of 1,000 trucks. If we interweave those trucks, provide them times when if they show up, they will immediately get into the port, we can then both minimize our delays and holdups as they get into the port, all the blockage of the roads, and at the same time, those truckers and the owners of the trucks can use those trucks for other things. Rather than sit in line for 5 hours, they can do something else. Maybe stay at home for 5 hours. But again, we can optimize their business and make our port a better server to them.
All right. A few weeks ago, we did a tour of the Port of Tacoma with Leslie Barstow at the port, and we did this with our STEAM Career Day committee, and because we're going to be putting on an event in a few months. And it's always interesting to do a tour of the Port of Tacoma. So I would encourage any of you who have never been to the port, or even if you have been to the port, if you've never been on a port tour, please do that. It's fascinating to see what goes on at the port. And anyone who works here in Fife has seen that backup of trucks in the afternoon. So there's there's so much that goes on at the port that most people don't know, and it's very important that you get educated and learn about the issues and learn about the port and the candidates that we have running for port commissioner. This is an important race this year, and thank you so much, Dave. And do you have any final thoughts, final words that you'd like to share?
I would like to share one thing, and that's maybe visibility of the port. And again, just as Lora said, it would be great for everyone to take a tour, to go out on the boat and go around and look at the port. I'm sure all of you from running businesses will be able to immediately go, you could do this better here and this better there. If I'm elected, I would love to get those inputs from people. Environmentally, and if you have not been down on the water in the port, you may have I guess an impression of a port as being a dirty place. Going back 30, 40, 50 years, ports were very dirty places. There was very little control for oil, for fuel, all of the machinery that operates in the area. Those things have changed dramatically over the last few decades. All that work isn't done. There's more to be done, and there's more to be done with us as commissioners, because that's what our job is, to be the interface, the representative between the population, the citizens, and the people that run the port. So we set the attitudes, we drive the culture, and one of the most important things is that all of us want a clean, productive, efficient port. And that's what I will work for as your port commissioner.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been enlightening and interesting and educating, and I'm just very thankful that you have decided to run and to be part of this process. So I really appreciate that. As just in closing, I just want to share with our members that we have lots more candidate interviews coming up, and so stay tuned for those. And I hope to see you all at our breakfast tomorrow morning. We've got a wonderful event planned along with the Puyallup-Sumner Chamber, and we're looking forward to that. So we will see you in the morning. Thank you.
And please vote Dave Bryant for port, and you can get more information about me, articles I've written at Dave Bryant, the number 4, port.com. DaveBryantForPort.com. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I failed to mention that voting day is August 8th, I believe.
August 6th.
6th. Thank you. I should have checked that right before. But August 6th, so it's all mail-in. So mail in your votes and get educated, watch these videos, get to know the candidates, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.